You understand, Rachel? She never sleeps.
Welcome back for take 2 of my horror movie podcast.
Hello! We got it this time.
We have it. So we were talking about how crazy Florida is before I realized I wasn't recording.
We're randomly talking about Florida.
Florida, like I said, is very much like where I live. The crazy people would probably be like times 10 in Florida compared to here.
Yeah.
It's not that much of a difference. And everyone goes to retire where I live.
Yeah,
so.
well then you essentially live in giant Florida.
Oh, no, I'm talking about my city.
Oh, okay.
The rest of Australia is not like that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I live in a little coastal town. Well, it's not that little anymore, called Wollongong.
okay.
And a lot of my American friends are like, that's a word? I'm sorry, what? But a lot of the places where I live are named by the indigenous people.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's, whatever the native language here is. I should know more about this, but...
There's always time. There's always time.
Exactly. I'm always learning.
Yeah, I just actually moved within the last year from Hawaii, so...
Wow.
That's, learning all of those words were... that was fun. Land of confidence.
But it sounds so beautiful.
It is very, very pretty. It's very pretty.
Yeah.
And it's going to rain somewhere on the island at some point in time every day. But once again, like Florida, it's you don't get any seasons. I mean, actually, I've never lived in Florida, so I don't know if they get seasons, but you definitely don't get any seasons.
It's just like one or the other.
Yeah, you definitely don't get any seasons, which, God, I don't miss that, though. At all.
We haven't really had because we're in spring at the moment, and we really haven't had anything.
Really?
It's just gone from winter to 30 degrees Celsius days. And I'm just like, come on, like I love summer, I love the heat, I love like the humidity and sometimes.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm in a hoodie.
My partner is too.
I'm in a hoodie right now because the temperature dropped 5 degrees. And I was like, yes.
Oh, see, I love hoodie weather. I'm not in a hoodie right now because I had pre-workout, so my body temperature's way high at the moment. But it is cold enough to have a hoodie on here.
Oh,
it's gonna rain.
I love. That's why I'm in Portland now, and it pretty much turned October and went down to sweater weather. Like that.
See?
Like it was really quick. And now we're going to get into rainy season, and this is just prime horror movie season, and I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I am not a summer person at all.
Oh, my partner's a winter person. Yeah. He's like, I could live in the Antarctic. I was like, goodbye. Yeah. See ya. See you later.
Yeah.
I ain't going.
Yeah. I don't know about that. But like I'm not a huge
He's Eastern European, so like winter is fine for him.
Yeah.
It's like his body's built for it.
Oh, big time. Because we were talking about how I'm originally from Georgia, so I've seen snow, but not like when it snows in Georgia, it snows for like maybe the day and then it's gone the next day, so you don't really live in it or anything. So I've never, really experienced too much of that, but I like snow. I haven't seen snow yet, but
I've seen snow once when I was 8.
Yeah? And
we had to drive for 7 hours to get there. And it snowed once here about 20 years ago and everybody lost their mind.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels weird to be in a place where it's just normal everyday occurrence during the winter to like put on snow tires. Like,
that's so
I don't even know how to do that. I have no idea how to do that at all whatsoever.
You should they have services that can come over and put them on.
I hope so.
Right?
I hope so.
Oh, is this your first winter there?
Huh?
Is this your first winter in Portland?
No. So I moved out here. Actually, it was a year in September. It was a year in September.
Oh, wow.
So I've been here a year now. It kind of like had flurries, but it didn't really like stick to the ground. So I didn't really see snow.
Yeah.
But hopefully I can like take a hike or something up near the mountains and see some snow. That would be nice.
Yeah, my partner loves Oregon.
Yeah.
He spent some time there when he was on tour 2 years ago, I think, but it was summer, so.
Oregon's so pretty. It's very, very pretty.
He said the same thing.
Yeah.
I was so jealous because I was only over in Sacramento waiting for him to come from Oregon, and I was like, I want to come over. I want to go to Portland so bad.
It's very pretty, and Portland's definitely one of those cities that I've always wanted to visit before too. And once I saw Portland, I was like, yep, this is it. I love this place. This is great.
Yeah.
And then 2020 happened.
and you can't do anything.
I can't do a damn thing.
I'd happily move to North California.
Yeah.
Like Northern California.
Yeah, I used to live in Northern California too. And it's very pretty there too.
Yeah. The people there remind me of where I live.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is so friendly and so nice.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh,
there's something.
You all remind me of home.
There's definitely something about the West Coast that is just completely different from the East Coast. Because growing up on the East Coast, it's just, all the way up to northeast, people are just angry, and then the southeast people are like sarcastic, angry, and then you get out to the West Coast, and everybody's just happy, and
nobody
cares.
The weather.
Yeah, it's got to be the weather. It's got to be the weather.
Although I have a friend from New Jersey who lives here now,
Yeah.
and she definitely belongs like in California and not in New Jersey.
Yeah, I strongly believe I'm not meant to go back to the East Coast.
Never do it.
Never going back.
See, we have that with our cities, like Sydney and Melbourne, are always fighting each other. Because Melbourne's like the Portland of Australia.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like full of art and music and
that sounds lovely.
Really creative people and coffee and food. And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I love going there for holidays. I wouldn't live there because of the weather.
Yeah.
But because it gets cold there.
Because it gets cold.
And it's near Antarctica. Like, it's near, like, the Tasman Sea, where it's freezing.
Now I have to move there, because it's got everything I want.
Melbourne, but there's a big rivalry between Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah?
So, yeah,
Like,
real big one.
Like, they got gang wars?
No, like Twitter wars. Worse.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty bad. Yeah.
It's really... I go down to Melbourne for PAX every year because I work in video games.
Oh, that's right. PAX is there. I forgot.
Yeah. So we have PAX Oz down there, and that's like my week of hanging out in Melbourne, and then I'm done.
Yeah. I have always wanted to go to PAX Australia.
Yeah, come over and do it.
I always wanted to go. Yeah.
It's just so much fun and so wholesome. Like, super wholesome.
Yeah, I have friends that...
Last year I wasn't working, so that was good.
I have friends who go every year, and I always see them on, like, the live streams, the live cast of whatever is going on. And I kind of wish I was there. I want to go so bad.
Yeah, I was on a couple of panels last year. That was fun.
Yeah? That's awesome.
Yeah, we talked about, like... video game adaptations of books.
Oh.
And the good ones, and then the really bad ones.
How many good ones are there?
Not many.
Not many?
No.
Yeah.
What did I choose for my bad ones? I think I chose the Harry Potter Nintendo DS adaptations.
See, the only Harry Potter game I've played is one that, I don't even remember what it was called, but it came out on PC in the early 2000s. I can't remember what it was called.
Oh.
I
think I had that.
All I remember is zooming around and picking up jelly beans. I don't know too much about Harry Potter at all whatsoever, but I'm pretty sure they're not called...
I try to know anything about it right now.
I'm pretty sure they're not called jelly beans.
They're Birdie Bots, every flavored jelly beans.
Okay, there we go. I don't know anything about Harry Potter.
Oh, no, I don't think I was really into the fandom. I liked the books.
Yeah.
I wasn't like a mega fan.
Yeah. I saw the movies, but I was never into the books because by the time the books came out, I was already reading Stephen King and Dean Koontz, and I was like very into those books. And so something like that, honestly, I think Harry Potter came out when I was like a preteen, so like that would have been too childish for me. I needed to read about murder. You know?
I think I was in grade 5, so I would have been 9 or 10 when the first book came out, and then they kind of aged with me, so it didn't feel childish when I got to like the 5th book.
Yeah.
And then the movies came out on my birthday every year.
Oh,
so.
wow. Oh, so then that was kind of super special then.
Yeah. And now J.K. Rowling is a turf.
We don't know who wrote the books.
I don't know.
The author to this day is unknown.
Unknown author.
No idea who wrote the books.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because, you know, so many people, when somebody says to me, you know, I separate the music from the creepy dude that's in 13-year-old, I can't do that.
I can't do it at all. I can't. Whatsoever.
I just can't do it. I have so many bands on my do not playlist on Spotify.
I do too. I have the same. Yeah, I do.
I was like, I don't want to hear your shit.
Yeah. Not at all.
I don't care.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear them. Yeah. Same.
I don't want you getting my 0.03 cents from Spotify plays.
Exactly. You're not going to get this penny. I'm sorry. No pennies for you.
Oh, goodness. I even, I'll avoid shows, right?
Yeah.
If the support band is a band that's on my do not playlist.
Oh, really?
Even though the main band is something I want to go see, I will not buy a ticket and go and see it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hadn't thought about
I was like,
that.
Nah.
I hadn't thought about that because I haven't been to a show in years. Yeah. I haven't been to a show in years, but...
It's my life, and...
God, I can't wait to go again, though.
Yeah. My partner is obsessed with this Welsh emo band, Holding Absence, and they were meant to play just when COVID happened. And we were like, is it going to be on? Is it going to be on? Is it going to be on? And then, no.
Gosh. Yeah,
that was his birthday present.
Always wanted to see Bad Religion in concert, and they hardly ever leave the West Coast. They never leave California. So when I came to the West Coast, I was like, oh my God, I have to see Bad Religion. Have to see Bad Religion. And then everything happened, and I was like, great, never gonna see anything ever. Ever again. No, I'm never seeing anyone.
I think I saw them at Soundwave one year.
Yeah.
And that would have been like the only Soundwave they played in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that was okay, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not a real big Bad Religion fan, but I know that you're gonna miss out.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the bands I grew up with are just older now. They don't really want to tour anymore. They just want to sit at home with their grandkids, so.
Yeah, when I was in San Francisco, I went and saw Bayside, and they were playing with Say Anything and something else I can't remember, but they were like a band that rarely ever tours ever. And so I said to my partner, like, I have to see Say Anything because they don't tour ever, or they don't come to Australia anyway,
right? Yeah. And that honestly was the hard part about Hawaii was the thing about living in Hawaii for shows and concerts is that a lot of people from the mainland states will buy tickets and go, this is my chance to go to Hawaii. So then none of the people who live on the island can get tickets.
No.
So it was really hard to go see really good shows. I think the last show I saw had Real Big Fish. And I was super excited. I was super excited. Oh, no.
I don't know.
You're about to tell me something, are you?
No, absolutely nothing.
I'm going to have to put Real Big Fish on my band list, aren't I?
No. I don't know why I reacted that way. I used to like them.
You got me. You had my heart skip. I was like,
so
oh,
sorry.
No. Oh, no.
I don't know why I reacted that way.
That was
they're fine.
That was full on face, noise, complete reaction.
My partner's gonna listen to this and know the exact face I pulled as well.
Oh no!
Because the noise always goes with that face.
Oh man.
No, I think it's just because I don't listen to them anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that was definitely a. I used to listen to you as a teenager. This is exciting kind of show. You know what I mean? Like it's not I'm
absolutely.
like rocking out the Real Big Fish, in my car. But yeah, it was definitely.
I mean, I do sometimes.
It's definitely one of they're one of those bands where I'll watch a movie from the 90s and go, oh my God, that's Real Big Fish. I can hear it. Hear it, But I think that was the last show that I saw. And they played with Less Than Jake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like they tour here a lot with Less Than Jake.
Yeah. I feel like
I don't know why.
I don't know.
And Lagwagon.
Yeah, I feel like they're just maybe all the bandmates. They're just all really really good friends. I don't know, but yeah, they do tour with Less Than Jake a lot. Yeah, they're BFFs now. Even Less Than Jake is like, ugh.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have an anxiety moment at like 4 a.m. tomorrow morning about that. And just be like, oh my God, why did I say that?
I loved it. Except that you made me have a heart attack because I thought something happened.
No. Oh, no. It's like the bands that are the most problematic are probably the ones in the post-hardcore scene and the hardcore scene.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. I'm just like praying the day doesn't come when like something happens about Silverstein because I will die.
I don't know.
I just will quit live. I just will not leave my room for days.
I don't know. Every time something happens, I'm like, not surprised in a way. I'm like, yeah, of course. Yeah, all right, just
of course you did.
Another one.
Fuck.
Like it's like
Thanks.
It's like every day it's something. It's someone else, and I'm like, oh, okay, well.
And, like, I don't have a problem people being named as abusers. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, can't you just be a decent human being? Like, how fucking hard is it?
No, it's too hard.
Like, how hard is it?
It's too hard. It's too hard. Don't you know I'm in a band?
I've got all these 13-year-old girls throwing themselves at me. I just can't stop myself.
I am the lead singer of a band that everyone listens to. This is too hard to be a decent human being. I'm sorry. You're asking too much.
You're asking too much of me not to be a creepy weirdo.
Here I am, being weird.
Being a massive pedophile. Oh, yuck. Musicians are disgusting.
Most of them, yeah.
I say that as my partner was a member of a band touring. He wasn't disgusting. He wasn't. He's a very decent human being.
Yeah, play guitar, but don't be a disgusting human being, please. Just play the guitar.
You know what you can do? You can be in a band and be a non-creepy, decent
cool
human being.
And not be creepy, yeah. Don't be a weirdo.
Like the guys in Mayday Parade.
Yeah.
They are really lovely dudes.
Yeah. Just be like Mayday Parade. Don't play your guitar, don't be creepy. It's
easy.
Be a normal human being. It's really fun.
This is why more women should be in bands.
It's fun. It's fun.
All right, let's talk about this movie.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about movies. I'm super excited about this.
So, what I get people to do is they've got to give a 30-second spiel about what the movie's about.
Okay.
So you've chosen The Ring.
I've chosen The Ring, yes.
Which terrified me as a 13-year-old, but
or The Ring chose me. I don't know.
That's terrifying. All right, so what's your 30-second spiel?
Okay.
Is it spiel or spiel?
Spiel, yeah, spiel.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the early 2000s, we had this saying, be kind, rewind. And this movie is what happened if you didn't do that. Okay, so
that's what Blockbuster's coming.
Yeah, Blockbuster's coming for you. Okay, so The Ring is essentially people find this VHS tape and they watch it. And it's got horrible imagery on it. And then after they watch it, they receive a phone call that tells them in 7 days you're gonna die. And that's pretty much the whole movie, is all these people watch this videotape for no reason.
And they die.
And then they die. Yeah. And
I really like this movie. It's not as scary as when I was a kid watching it.
It's not. And that's the thing is, so this is one of the first horror movies that I ever watched by myself.
Ooh.
And it scared the absolute daylights out of me because I borrowed a VHS tape from the library and watched it.
No thanks.
And I was thoroughly convinced that I was gonna die in 7 days. I was counting the days. I was absolutely horrified.
Like, I'm dead
like,
any day now.
I'm dead, and I don't know what's gonna happen. Little did my brain comprehend the fact that, you know, in the movie she experiences like all these symptoms day after day. Like, I was not experiencing nosebleeds, and I wasn't, you know, pulling giant hairballs out of my throat.
Oh.
Which, honestly, is probably one of the worst things that happens in that movie that I hate.
Yeah, I'd forgot, like, that had happened, and then when I saw it, it was just, like, my body was just like,
it's really...
Just the noise of it.
It's really it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what they really did a good job with this movie, is that it's not jump scare after jump scare after jump scare. It's finding out these little tidbits that going along in the story and just making you feel uncomfortable the entire time.
Yeah. They definitely skipped the gore and the slasher and, you know, your typical horror tropes that make something scary and replaced it with imagery, and the lighting that they had in it was that green tint through the whole movie that just looks sick.
I mean, honestly, how can you tell that a movie takes place in Seattle or the Pacific Northwest if it's not raining all the time and there's that blue-green tint everywhere?
It doesn't look like that in real life there.
Oh, it totally 100% looks like that.
It's always green here.
It's always blue and
it's just
green
green filter.
Yeah, constantly. But that's honestly one of my favorite parts, is it just sets that gloomy mood. And
it is really just bleak.
Yeah. And I actually I was doing a little bit more research on the movie too after my second watch through, because I watched it as a kid, terrified, and then this year was the first time I ever watched it again. So as an adult, I'm watching it, and I caught things that, you know, my child brain, not fully developed, is catching, you know, and I'm like, oh man, that's really, really cool that I'm catching that again on a second watch, much older. But when I was researching little tidbits and things, I read that the director actually made it so that in the scenes, everything very, very much so is decluttered, and that it looks clinical and clean. And they tried to eliminate shadows from the movie as well, which I thought was interesting, because in most horror movies, you know, they want to implement darkness and shadows and creepiness and stuff like that. But they literally tried to omit all the shadows in the movie, which I thought was a really interesting touch. It's creepy, but it's nice.
When you think about it, you're like, oh, they're really... It's not that it's, like, flooded with light, but they definitely use the light in making it that clinical, very...
Oh, yeah.
Well,
they put so much...
absent
they put so
things.
much emphasis on how they were going to set the lighting up, and I thought that was interesting. It's a nice touch.
What I found really concerning about this movie isn't the actual movie. It's the fact that DreamWorks bought the rights to the movie for $1 million.
$1 million.
And made $129 million off it.
Yes. That's insane.
That's my bit where I'm like, did the author get anything else from this? Like, I hope there's, like, further agreements on that.
I don't know, because from what I was reading, they wrote several other novels And I don't remember if they made any other movie adaptations from those novels.
Yeah, I didn't find anything else that they had made movies from those films.
Yeah, I don't know, but I hope they never have to work another day in their life, because that's a lot of money.
Yeah, me too.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
Give them what they deserve.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so the start of the film is two teenagers, Katie and Becca, and they're having a girls' night and hanging out, and Katie, I think Becca is talking about the videotape.
Yeah, Becca is talking about it.
That there's this videotape out in existence, and, it kills you if you watch it. And Katie jokes around and pretends to cark it, and then admits that she watched the film. So, because I hadn't watched this I haven't watched it since I watched it for the first time. So I was kind of like, did she watch... I can't remember if she actually did watch the film.
Katie?
Like, I was kind of confused. Yeah. Where I was just like, did she watch it? I don't know. I can't remember. I couldn't remember the movie at all.
Yeah.
So it was like watching it for the first time again.
Yeah.
That happens a lot on this podcast.
It definitely feels like it, because I feel like you really do have to watch some of these, especially movies like The Ring, where there isn't jump scare after jump scare. It's really you have to pay attention to those little details. I mean, there were things, I was looking on the wiki and I was like, wait a minute, this was a thing? Like, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
So
I did the same thing.
So yeah, it's little things like that. So Katie did watch it. And we find that out after the phone rings, and she is quite obviously terrified. She's terrified because she sees what time it is.
Yeah.
And what's odd about this too, what I found odd, is that two teenage girls, home alone, their parents, because Katie's parents have left town. They're like, they left town. And these two teenage girls are still in their school uniforms at 10 p.m. at night. Like, why would they not have changed clothes by now? Like, why is this a thing?
Disturbing.
This has disturbed me, and it's something that I couldn't stop thinking about while I was watching the beginning of this movie. Why are they still in their uniforms?
Why are you in your uniform? What are you doing?
Yeah, why
Maybe it's just to set up the fact that they're teenagers.
And we're just a couple of teenage girls
hanging out,
talking about VHS tapes.
And so, after the phone rings, we find out it's Katie's mum.
Yes.
And then she's attacked.
Yeah, and what...
I think I closed my eyes during this bit. I was checking my phone, so I can't remember.
So Katie goes downstairs to answer the phone. Well, Becca honestly answers the phone and pretends like something is going on, and Katie's like, oh my God. Then, so the mom's like, oh, I made you food, blah, blah, blah. Another thing that they do in the beginning of the movie that I noticed that they don't really do throughout the rest of the movie is that they make it, the fake scares. They have a fake scare in there.
Yeah.
So they make it seem like, oh, Katie's going to open the refrigerator door and bam, there's going to be something scary there. And it never happens. They throw in those fake scares for anticipation, like at the beginning of the movie. And then they never do it again.
They could have utilized that a lot more.
I feel like they really could have utilized that a little more, because then you just get comfortable in the storytelling throughout the rest of the movie, too. It doesn't feel as, I don't know, like anxiety-inducing. You're learning more and more. It's just more mysterious now. What's going on? Why are these people interconnected? Who's watching tapes and stuff? So I thought that was interesting.
Because after Katie is attacked and dies, I feel like the movie just runs.
Oh yeah, it just takes off after that.
1,000,000 miles an hour. And I really like that about the film. There's no boring, unnecessary bits where I'm just like, oh, can I just skip through this because this is bullshit.
Yeah. So essentially Katie goes upstairs because Oh, the TV turns on. That's because the TV
That's
turns
right,
on.
yeah.
And she turns it off, and then it turns back on. And then she hears some noises upstairs, so she goes upstairs, and she notices that her bedroom is flooded. And she's like, stop playing, Becca! And then she opens the door, and she's immediately attacked. Yeah, she's immediately attacked.
Yeah. Because they later, at the funeral, we meet who the main character is, Rachel. And what really unnerves me is that her son calls her Rachel.
Yeah. Yeah. Another
like
little bit of uncomfortableness within the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I'm like, that kid's making me uncomfortable. But kids in horror movies make me uncomfortable anyway. So
yeah, same.
like, as soon as there's a kid involved, I'm like, oh my
I know.
god. This is all going downhill. But lucky it didn't. His presence didn't deter me from the film.
He was like an uncomfortable kid, but he wasn't like a creepy kid.
Yeah. And so the mother of Katie, they have a flashback to like Katie's face. And it was just that little... that wasn't like a jump scare. It was more like a... Oh, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. So
that the mother saw
So basically, they find Katie in the closet, and her face is all distorted. Her skin is all dried out. She's very gray. Just very creepy. Very creepy. It's very creepy to find.
It is,
someone
isn't
like
it?
that.
And like her jaw's like all...
Yeah, her jaw is a little bit unhinged, and it's very creepy. And what could possibly have done this? And
Exactly,
that's what the mother
we find
talks
out.
about. Yeah, and that's what the mother talks about too. Is she was a very healthy 16-year-old girl, and they say that her heart just stopped. She had a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know what would cause that?
How does that happen?
That doesn't happen.
And that's where she asks Rachel to like go and find out what happened, because Rachel is a journalist.
Yes. Yep.
And so she goes out to the backyard with a cigarette, and she's chatting away to some of Rachel's friends. Adam Brody is in this bit.
Adam Brody, and as soon as I saw, oh my god, Adam Brody has
That
5 seconds of fame in this movie.
Yeah, me too. That's what I was like. I know I literally wrote, he was in this movie for about 5 seconds.
Yep.
Needed more Adam Brody airtime.
Yep.
But we find out that other people have died,
Yes.
including Katie's boyfriend and 2 of her friends.
2 of her friends, yep.
And we later find out that, because Rachel does some digging, and she finds those photos in Katie's room.
Yes, yep.
With all, they're all normal photos happening. And then there's one of the 4 of them together with, like, warped faces.
Yeah, so basically
creepy.
they're trying to allude to the fact that something has happened, and when you take your photo, like, your face is all blurry too. Another little tidbit too, and I think they try their best to allude to Aiden, the child. They allude to his like psychic mediumship ability is the fact that he's been drawing Katie dead and buried for about a week before she actually dies.
Yeah, I forgot about that bit, because she goes, Rachel goes into the school.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they don't really use that throughout the rest of the film.
I know, and
So
and
it was
that's
a bit
why,
confusing.
That's why it's uncomfortable in the meantime or in the beginning, and then it just kind of like they never go back to him having any type of like anything, nothing. It's like okay,
that was it.
You drew some creepy pictures. All right, well, is that it? Like.
Well, he just keeps drawing creepy pictures throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
I think there's some little, like, connections that are made, because he talks about, Samara and her and whatnot. But, yeah, they don't really explain it.
Yeah. It's kind of like just there hovering in the background a little bit. Yeah.
It's just like, that's happening. This is happening in this movie.
Right.
And so, Rachel's doing some digging, and her boss, I love this scene, because her boss comes over, and he's like, you're fired. And she's like, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
And he's like, yeah, you are, you're fired. And she's like, no, I'm not. And I was like, that'd be me.
I know.
Like,
That's such
you don't know what you're talking about.
That's such a nice little addition in there, because you get to see Rachel's, like, spunkiness and, like, her real, like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Just chill. I got this. Like, you're not firing me because I got something good. You know, I really like that. That's like a nice little addition there too.
But it kind of shows how she can investigate something and how she has the skills to do that. So they kind of give her like a little bit of a story arc, but you don't really see her in her day-to-day life from that point.
Right, yeah. She is specifically a mom, a single mom, and a journalist, and that's it.
Yeah.
Investigative journalist, that's it. That's all she does.
Story arc.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's kind of like, okay, well, I appreciate that you threw that in, so now I know why she's so good at research. She could have been anything.
She literally only sits at her desk and does PI stuff.
Yeah. So, she finds out that Katie had spent a weekend at Shelter Mountain Inn with her friends, and that's where they had watched this cursed tape. And so Rachel decides to go up there and find the tape. And, she stays there, doesn't she? She stays.
She does.
And,
she asked for the specific cabin that they were in.
That's right. Cabin number 12. I remember that from last night. And I really like the guy that works there. He's fun. With his magic cards.
He just really wants that magic trick to work. It's gonna work one day. One day it'll work.
But I read somewhere that he doesn't show up again because apparently he's dead.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently he had watched the tape and died.
Huh.
But there's nothing that says that in the movie, but I just read that online somewhere.
That's the first I've heard of it. Wow, that's
odd.
I
just read it this morning and I was like, oh, okay. So, like, don't want to put that in the movie? Or is that just... I think that's just the lore around.
Yeah.
Why he wasn't there the second time
they
go back.
Maybe, I don't know, yeah. Huh.
So...
Okay.
And so, she takes it up to this, like... Because it's on their... in their library of VHS tapes.
And it has no cover.
Blew my mind.
It has no cover. It's got no label on it. Nothing. She's like, bam, that's the tape. That's it.
That's it.
And
like, I would have grabbed a couple just to make sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is it her like investigative senses that it's like, bam, that's the tape, or is it like somehow weirdly, you know, Samara's power going, pick me. like it could go either way. It could go either way, because I know that I wouldn't like immediately look at a blank VHS tape and go, that's the weird one. I want to watch
That's the cursed one.
That's definitely the cursed one right there. I'm gonna sneak that into my bag and watch it.
I'll pick you. So, I don't know. I would have ended up with like a whole pile. Like, I'm just taking these back to my cabin. I'm gonna check them all.
Just gonna check all these
like I
just
have
in case.
No common sense.
Just in case there's a vengeful spirit on any of these tapes, gonna check them out.
I want them all. I want all the vengeful spirits, please.
You just end up with a gang of vengeful spirits following behind you, and you're like, a little diary.
It's my posse.
You gotta keep track of like how many days you have left now.
I just like order of importance. Like, okay, well, this one's giving me 4 days, so I'm gonna have to solve this issue right away.
This one's more
ASAP. Urgent.
This one's more urgent than the other one.
The other one's giving me a month. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out. I always work better when I'm stressed out, so we'll save that one for later.
Under pressure.
We'll save that one for later.
So Rachel takes it up to that really dingy-ass cabin. That looks
cabin.
Like you're gonna need a tetanus going in there.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. They don't even show the whole cabin. It's like it's like just a wooded room. It's like here's his bed, and here's a TV, and this is the whole cabin. Yep.
4 people stayed in there.
Four people stayed here. Don't investigate the rest of the cabin. It's all about this tape. Watch this tape. We don't have time. We don't have time for this.
No more evidence. That's all we need. So she watches the tape, and it's full of like when I look at it, I actually laughed watching it because I was like, oh, this 10 seconds of tape scared the living shit out of me the first time I watched it, and now I'm like, Like, the True Blood opening theme scares me more than this now.
It really is. It's, like, at one point, they just show a ladder. You're like, oh my god! Oh my god!
And the chair spinning upside down. Oh wait, no, that was in parody.
No, that's in it. Yeah.
That was
no,
in...
there's a
it is?
chair spinning.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a chair spinning in it.
Okay, I thought that might have been in like
one of the
scary
ones?
movies. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there's totally one.
Okay, good.
Then you see you see the well, you see, the most important part of it is you see the ring. You see the ring. You see a woman brushing her hair and she's looking in the mirror. You see a house, but you only see like the top window portion.
Yeah.
You see a man looking out. There's a cliffside and a tree. And you see horses on a beach, but they're dead and they're in the water.
Yeah.
They're on the shore. So you see a lot of that.
And then lots of like bloody water.
Oh yeah, you see lots of bloody water rushing in. You see the maggots and
that just makes me feel sick.
And then there's one scene where you see the cliffside and there's a one singular tree blowing in the wind, but then you see like a fly that's huge in the sky and it looks like it's crawling on the TV, which becomes important later. So it's just a lot of dark, weird imagery.
Yeah. It was just weird. Mm-hmm. When I watch it now, I'm like, okay, that all means something. When I was 13, it didn't mean shit to me. It was like, I'm going to die in 7 days now that I've watched this. Oh, yeah.
And then you also hear that really strange, very rhythmic, it almost sounds like crickets in a way when the video plays.
Oh, like the whirring noise?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, and I always think about that because it's very interesting that they included that because whenever you hear that sound start to go off, I always think of the movie. It's like it's very symbolic of that movie, that one teeny tiny sound.
Yeah. That's creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy. I think the sound is much more creepy than the visual. But yeah, as a teenager, oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. And I was convinced I was gonna die because I saw it too.
Yeah. Well, I watched it with my sister. Now, my sister does not like horror movies. She likes psychological thrillers, but she is not a horror movie fan at all. And we watched it with our older cousin, who, of course, rang the home phone after the movie was finished.
Of course. I feel like I know so many people who they watched it with family or siblings, and
someone messed with them.
Some asshole had to ring the phone. That's another thing. My phone didn't ring to tell me I was gonna die. Why did I think I was gonna die? That's another.
Why was I dying?
Why was I dying? The phone didn't ring. Nobody told me I was gonna die.
Well, mine did, and I didn't die, so. I mean, maybe it's in dog years or something.
Oh, God. I hope not.
I really hope not.
I hope not.
Because that means it's like... Oh, no, it skipped it. It skipped it now.
Already. Yeah, it would have skipped already. We're fine. We're good. We're good.
So, Rachel takes the tape home. Oh, no, she gets a phone call.
Yeah, she gets the phone call.
That says 7 days.
Yep, she gets the phone call.
So she gets the iconic phone call. And she doesn't seem super shaken at the time, but when she gets home, she calls over Noah, who is her ex-partner and the father of their child, Aiden. And, she gets him to watch it. And his reaction is, oh, very student film.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, right, I've done shit like that before.
Pretty good student film. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, I really like that.
This is cool.
But he doesn't seem fazed. But obviously Rachel is, because, she's saying all these kids died after they watched this film.
She has also, she has this very 2000s, early 2000s digital camera that she has taken pictures of herself. And all of her images are very blurry. Every single one of them are blurry. Yep.
And he's just like,
whatever. This is just a thing that happens.
But he agrees to find out the origins of the film. because he is a photographer and I'm guessing a videographer.
Yeah, he's some type of video analyst. He knows more about it, so he offers to figure out, you know, where was this recorded? Where did it come from? What's going on?
The bit I loved is she's like, I'll make you a copy, and I nearly died when I saw the outfit she was wearing to go and make the copy of the film, because I was just like, oh, I would have loved to have had that outfit in 2002.
It's very...
She had, like, the hipster jeans and the little loop belt and a spaghetti strap top, and I was like...
Yep.
Iconic.
Also, the actor who plays Noah played Riggs on Grey's Anatomy, which I used to be a huge fan of, and I was like, oh my god, I know him! And then
He's from New Zealand.
Yeah. Yep, he is.
And Naomi Watts is Australian, so that's kind of cool that they had, like, these two Southern Hemisphere people on the film.
That's very awesome. Yep.
Apparently they used to have fights over which country's better on set.
Yeah, I read that too.
People would have been like, what the hell are you... What? Obviously an Australian accent's way better than a New Zealand accent. Sorry, New Zealand friends.
I'm not going to make a comment because I'm not getting in between this.
I am Switzerland.
I'm staying out of this.
So, they basically, this is when Rachel starts to have the supernatural stuff happening to her.
Oh,
And,
also, Riggs gets a phone call.
Riggs.
Not Riggs. Oh, yeah, I'm going to call him Riggs now. Noah gets a phone call, and I thought this was an interesting tidbit in the movie that I didn't catch the first time. So Noah watches, and then when he's like, okay, I'm done, I watched it, they get a phone call. But she doesn't pick up the phone because she knows what's going to happen. So after he leaves... she looks at her answer machine and sees she has one message left, and she deletes it. But the funniest thing I can think about is this vengeful spirit calling and waiting, like, thanks for calling Rachel. Like, please leave a message after the beep. And then the voice is, oh, God, okay. All right, you're going to die in 7 days.
Oh,
like,
for God's sake.
Pick up the phone.
I actually did think of that. I'm like, I can't believe it left a message. Like, there's nothing I hate more than leaving a voicemail. Like,
I just can't help but think about Samara at the bottom of the well. Like, oh my god, we just answered this stupid phone. Jesus Christ. Like, these people and their voice messages. Jesus.
Oh my god, alive people needing voice messages. Jesus. But so this is where, Rachel's starting to have all the weird, creepy stuff happen to her, and she coughs up it looks like a hair. I think it is a hair, but on the end of it is like an electric... like from an ECG.
Yeah.
So it's like a really long hair, and then the ECG connection part.
Yeah, I actually just caught that too. I didn't see that the first time. Yeah.
That bit grosses me out.
Yeah.
Just because I have, like, a really weak stomach. And so, when there's something like someone sounds like they're vomiting, I will feel... I've got it under control now. But for a really long time, like, if someone, like, dry heaved, I would actually vomit. No. So, it was so frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing, too...
And now it's under control.
The thing, too, she's on the phone with her sister...
Yeah.
She's on the phone with her sister, and she starts coughing a little bit. She's like, hang on. And the woman on the other line is like, are you okay? What's going on? Is this about Katie? Like, she's like, hold on, I'm dying. Calm down. Like, I'm on the floor, literally pulling ropes of hair out of my mouth. Chill out. Like,
relax.
I'm busy right now.
Do you know what I thought of when that started happening? I was like, oh, I've choked on my water before too. Like that it's gone down the wrong hole. And I felt that.
Nothing is worse than thinking you're going to die from drinking sustenance. Like, I need this to live.
Or choking on your own saliva.
Have you ever just swallowed your own spit and thought you were going to die? Yeah. Yeah, constantly.
Heaps. At least every second day.
That's the real horror in this movie. All the many ways that they could have possibly died without the vengeful spirit.
Choking on your own saliva. So, find... No, is it Noah? Why did I say Ethan?
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway.
But Noah...
I think his name in life is Ethan. Like,
I think
his
it's
name
Martin.
in life. Oh.
Ethan, Martin, Noah, whatever.
Same.
That
same,
guy
same.
Riggs.
Anyway. Riggs. So... Rachel's done some investigating and she's found out that the imagery is actually from a farm on an island somewhere,
Yes.
like a horse
Yes.
breeder. And that's Anna Morgan's
Yes.
home. And that's the woman
Yes.
in the video. I don't know how she made that connection. I can't remember that bit.
So, it had to do with the lighthouse. So she sees a lighthouse in the
that's
film.
right.
And this is a neat little, I don't know if it's an Easter egg really, but it's a neat little thing that I found. So she's making the copy or whatever she's doing when she's experiencing all those things. She gets a nosebleed and everything, but she sees the lighthouse. And she's like, I'm going to look up the lighthouse. And the lighthouse she finds is on the island. So the way she finds that out is she goes to her work computer and she types in Seattle PI. You know, that's the website she's going to search, Seattle PI. And she looks up the lighthouse and she finds it on the island. But if you pause the movie and you look at the URL, it's actually a local file. It's literally from her C drive, and it says Windows 98 desktop, like Seattle PI. It's like it's an actual file on the computer. It's not a URL, but Seattle.
That's so cool.
SeattlePI.com used to be a real website. It still is a real website. So I thought that's a cute little like quirky, tidbit that they put in the movie. And they're like, they're not gonna know what a URL is. We'll just use this desktop icon. Like, we use this
No one will know.
local file. It's fine.
Don't
yeah,
worry
that's
about
how
it.
she finds the island. She looks up the lighthouse. The lighthouse plays a big part in how she finds the island. So that's how she finds the ranch too, because she looks up in the newspaper clippings that they have had a huge, massive horse suicide, and the media just runs with it. Something like 36 to 40 horses just all kill themselves by running off of a cliff and throwing themselves into the ocean. And then that's really how the Morgan Ranch really catches the eye of the media.
Because it was really, they were all saying it was quite odd.
Yeah, they'd never seen anything
we
like
find
that.
out later why it happened.
Yeah, they couldn't figure out why it was happening. Yep.
Yeah. And so they later find out that, she also finds out that Anna had taken her own life.
Yes.
After her horses had all died.
Yes.
So, yeah. And then Rachel catches Aiden watching the tape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's desperate. Absolutely desperate to find out.
Yep, everything becomes extra urgent.
How to stop this.
It's extra urgent now. Yep.
Yeah.
Extra urgent.
Complete ASAP.
Yep.
Oh, I've just lost all my notes. Damn it. No, not like lost them. I scrolled up. Now I don't know where I'm up to. So basically, Rachel and Noah team up, and there's a scene in the car where Noah is talking with Aiden, and Aiden's drawing away. And he's talking about how I'm your dad, and I wouldn't be a very good dad.
Yeah.
I didn't really realise when I was a kid that, Noah is the dad.
Yeah.
It wasn't until last night that I was just like, oh, it all makes sense.
Yeah. I didn't catch that.
Gotcha.
I didn't catch that the first time I watched it either.
Yeah.
But he goes on to talk about how they were both kids when they had him, and he wasn't going to be a good dad because they were kids themselves, and it probably leads into a little bit of, or explains a little bit of why Aiden calls his mom Rachel by her first name instead of saying mom too.
Yeah.
It's because she probably treated him more like a little brother when she had him too.
Yeah.
Instead of her own child.
So there's like a bit of disconnect in that.
Yeah, there probably isn't
parental role.
too much of a bonding right there. And even
Enmeshment.
you even get those little tidbits too at the beginning of the movie when Aiden is dressing himself for Katie's funeral too. and he's like laying out Rachel's clothing, and you almost get like a little bit of a he's growing up too soon vibe. He's kind of taking care of his mom instead of the other way around. A little bit of, and I think that leads into the making the audience feel a little uncomfortable too, because you don't see that. Yeah.
Where you're just like, he's just a kid.
Yeah.
So they drop Aiden off at Rachel's sister's house.
Yep.
And they're off to the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
And so Noah and Rachel have found that Anna Morgan was actually a patient at Eola Psychiatric Hospital. So Noah goes there, and Rachel jumps on the ferry to go across to, what's the island called? Moesco?
Moesco? Yeah. Something.
Moesco?
I hope that's how it's pronounced,
Moesco?
but yeah, basically, yeah.
It's like Moesko.
Yeah.
And on the ferry, she sees a horse.
Of course she does.
and this bit
instead of
scared the shit out of me.
Instead of leaving that horse alone, because that horse doesn't belong to you, she's got to go up to it and touch it and ruin everything.
But then she, like, doesn't leave when she sees that it's distressed.
Yeah.
Like, just leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah, don't touch it. That's not yours. Leave it alone. It's upset. Leave it alone.
So the horse breaks out.
Yep.
And does a couple of laps around the ferry before...
Yep. That's also, I think, a very disturbing scene because...
Yeah.
You know, it's also reminiscent of what she's heard before, which is of the horses killing themselves, jumping over a ledge.
Yeah.
And you get that even more so of like cliff feeling when it jumps off the ferry, because I think of the camera angle of how they shot like the horse falling off the ferry too. It's very, very tall, a very tall angle too.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting little tidbit that they added in.
Yeah. Because you don't really see the whole ferry.
Yeah, exactly.
You just see the horse,
exactly.
and that's
exactly.
it.
If she just left that damn horse alone, leave it the
what?
fuck alone.
Horses really scare me.
Really?
Just because they're so
They are big.
and if they kick me in the head, I can die.
Yeah.
Like, that scares me.
That's a fair reason. That's a pretty good reason. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, I just wave and point them out to my nieces, and that's
then
it.
Leave them the hell alone.
That's all we're going to do. And then leave them the hell alone. Because they don't belong to me.
Because they do not belong to me. Leave them the hell alone.
And so the bit that really disturbed me was when they all run down to the other end of the ferry to see what's happened to the horse, and underneath it just like churns out blood. So the good thing is they don't show that.
Yes.
They don't show the horse being chewed up by the ferry motor fan. What are those things called?
The motor?
Yeah.
Motor. I don't know.
Boat fan?
I
don't know. I don't go on
know
boats.
The technical term. We're not boatists.
I'm not a boatist.
I'm not a boat person. I don't know anything about that.
No, me neither. So the horse gets, unfortunately, absolutely annihilated under the boat.
But then you see the rush of blood water. I didn't catch that until now. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's what's in the film, like in Samara's video, is that blood bubbling, like, but they do it in slow-mo in the video. Curse tape, not fast. And, so that's, I didn't notice that till last night as well. I was like,
there's so much symbolism in this movie, and I think that's why I really, really enjoy it. I really enjoy those little details that directors and screenwriters add into everything like that. I love it.
They obviously work really hard to make them so that people might not necessarily see it the first time, but you know, maybe on their second or third watch, they're starting to pick up on extra things and being like, oh, that's clever. And I think that that's what makes a movie rewatchable. If you're just like, okay, I didn't understand it the first time, so I'm going to watch it a second time. Yeah.
It's definitely a movie that deserves a second watch if you're watching through and you're like, well, I don't understand why this happened and this happened. Just watch it again and, you know, you can catch those little details.
You might get it.
Yeah, you might get it. That's what I love about movies like this.
Yeah, I had to read the wiki to understand what had happened to Samara, so...
Yeah, I did too.
Because I was just like, I don't get it.
I did too.
I need to read it. Yeah. So, she goes to, Rachel goes to speak to Anna's husband, Richard.
Yes.
But he doesn't want a bar of it.
Yeah.
And he denies that Samara...
ever happened.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
I don't know who Samara is. But at the same time, Noah is at the psychiatric hospital, and he finds that they'd had a child.
Yes.
After, quite a number of miscarriages and whatnot.
Yep.
So, obviously Samara was a very incredibly important part of Anna and Richard's life. Oh no, sorry, she was adopted.
Yeah, she was adopted.
After all the miscarriages.
Yeah.
And that in Anna's file, it also said that Samara had a psychic ability.
Yes.
So her psychic ability, I researched it because I was like, I gotta know what this is about. It's actually called Nensha, and it's a form of spirit photography, and basically people are able to like burn images into film or anywhere, really. And so they can think of something and then put it in like on a like in the film, Samara's is put on like actual film for like photos. Photo film or X-ray film.
Yeah,
or something.
It kind of looks like X-ray films because Noah has to hold it up to kind of at the light to kind of really see what it is, and it looks weird too because you don't expect. He sees images of like little dinosaurs and like a rocking horse and stuff, and it's like it's so odd to see like an X-ray with children's toys in it. And it's because Samara has burned that image into the X-ray film. Yep.
Yeah. And basically so basically Rachel goes to the local GP on the island, and who says, Samara was adopted, they had lots of fertility problems, and some stuff happened, and I basically referred them both to Eola Psychiatric Facility. And she thought that Samara was still there.
Yeah.
And that, yes, Anna had died, but Samara was still alive at the hospital. So after that, but the doctor says some quite weird things, the horses went mad, there was no fish, but all I know is as soon as she was gone, everything got better.
Everything was better after we knew that she had left the island. Yep.
Yeah, which is kind of ominous. Yes. Very ominous. And so Rachel goes back to the farmhouse at night, and the door is unlocked. So she just goes on in. Why not?
Why not? That's what I'm here for. I already touched a horse that wasn't mine. Might as well break it in her.
Beanie, add that to my list. Animal cruelty, beanie, let's go. So at this time, Noah has already been at the hospital and had found the existence of a tape. So he's gone on down to wherever they keep the tapes, I guess, in whatever archive, and pretends to be Richard.
Yes. Yep.
And then finds out that he was the last person to use the tape. Yeah,
and that's a great scene, too, because...
I love that.
Yeah, the guy down there is like, man, you're looking pretty good for somebody who's, like, in his 70s.
He's like, genetics.
Yep. Genetics,
who would have thought, huh?
What can I say?
And so the tape's not in there. But when he says who was the last person who watched it, and he was like, oh, you were
the last one that took it. Yep.
And then it cuts back to Rachel at the farmhouse actually putting the tape on. And it's during that time that it's an interview with Samara and a doctor at Eola Psychiatric Hospital. And so I can't remember what they're talking about in this bit. they're not really talking about much, are they? Oh, Daddy loves the horses.
Yeah, he doesn't like me.
He's going to leave me
Yeah, he
here.
doesn't like me very much. The doctor asks her, you know, you don't seem like you want to hurt people. And she's like, but I do. Which could either mean, but I do want to hurt them, or it could just be a response of, but I do hurt them, even though I don't want to. Like, so it's very creepy. You know,
because it kind of has a couple of interpretations that you can have from that. Like, what does she mean?
Yeah, and it's neat too, because you can see in the tape the X-rays on the table too.
Yeah.
So at that point,
because they're talking about
so
them.
at that point they can you know, they already know that she has this ability, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because they kind of kept her there to obviously protect her and protect everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he says, you know, let's talk about these pictures here, and she says, I don't make them, I see them. And then they just
Oh yeah, because he asked her, how do you create them, and she goes, I don't. You know, I just see them and they are. Yeah.
They're there. That's it. And so Richard sneaks up on her and he's got like all these cables around his neck, and I forgot this scene happened because maybe I just blocked it out of my memory, to be honest. And so she's like yelling at him about his daughter, like, what did you do to her? Where is she? What have you done? And then I can't really remember what he's saying, because I don't think he's even saying anything. He's just getting his bathtub ready.
So he alludes to the fact that he obviously blames her for his wife's death. And this is when he starts talking about how he needed to get rid of her. Like he needed to put her away. Like he couldn't deal with it anymore.
She was never meant to have a daughter.
Yeah. He does say that my wife was never meant to have a daughter. Or she was never supposed to be a mother.
Which is really sad.
It is, yeah. And all of this is taking place in the I would assume it's around the late 60s, because that's when the dates on her miscarriages are in the records, like late 60s.
Yeah.
So this must be like the early 70s is like when Samara's actually come like about, essentially.
Oh, yeah. I think 1969 she was born.
Yeah.
Or adopted.
Yeah. Adopted, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since his wife had died. It had been like 20 years or something, they were saying. Yeah. So it's really, like, and I do understand where his pain comes from. Like, I get that. And, but you find out that he was incredibly cruel to his daughter. He was very abusive. As well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so he basically just gets in the bathtub with all of these, like, electrical goods and flicks the switch on and electrocutes himself, which is really terrifying for somebody to do.
It's terrifying, and it also, in a way, feels, I don't know, it feels misplaced to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, why would he, you know, do it right then and there? Like, why would he need to? You know, obviously he's been planning it. He probably didn't expect her to come back to the house. Maybe he went and got the tape because he saw her the first time. You know, I don't know. But it just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a good place in the movie.
It feels. But in saying that, like, he's talking about how he can't get the images out of his head. They don't go away. She never sleeps. And so I get that the electricity might have the ability to eliminate all those feelings.
Yeah, maybe.
So, like, I get why it happened, but it does feel very odd in that space.
Yeah.
And also maybe he was like, fuck it. If you're here, you are not interrupting my plans. Like, I'm going ahead with this. So I will entertain you and answer these questions, but, like, I'm on a schedule.
Which is quite possible, too, because, I mean, when you're, you know, older like that, you know, and he's been dealing with this for so long, he's like, fuck it, you know, who cares? Like, you want to watch this and let's go. Like,
if you're going to be here, you're going to be a witness. I'm sorry.
It's quite possible.
So she ends up witnessing his suicide, and Noah shows up on the island, and he's basically like, Samara's adopted, blah, 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 and Rachel remembers a comment that Aiden had made to her about how the horses keep her up at night.
Yes.
And so they go out to the barn, and this is where the images start all piecing together from Samara's video. So she looks up at the house and sees the window where the man in the video is, and the barn that's in the video. And then when she goes in the barn, it's the ladder that's in there.
Yes. Everything seems to be piecing together, and it's awesome.
And I really like how the first time I wouldn't have made those connections. Like, I just wouldn't have really pieced that together as it's already been given to me, that information.
Right. We've already seen it and digested it, and then we don't remember it anymore. It doesn't matter. But
and I think that's like a typical teenage brain. But now definitely. I'm just like, it's all been given to me. All the clues.
All the clues, yep.
And so they climb up the creepy ladder, and there's the television and the chair that spins around.
Creepy, rocking horse is in the room. She's got a little bed.
It's so sad, like
sad.
That.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
He literally put his daughter away, to solitude because he couldn't deal with it. Yep.
Yeah, because she had been burning images into their heads and sending them a little bit crazy. And so he thought, I'll put her away so that she can't come anywhere near us. And that's when all the horses were eventually driven to madness. Because she couldn't sleep at night. So she had burnt images into their heads. And that's where the mass jump off the cliff down to the beach happened with all the horses. So that explains the horses on the beach and the cliff and and the lighthouse.
And the lighthouse,
like it's like I think they're all images that Samara had seen and wanted to provide as clues for people to find out her story.
I think so too. It's almost reminiscent of, like, not repressed memories, but like things you see every day that don't really click but are big moments still. Which is really symbolic in this movie. Imagery is a huge part of this movie. And that's what makes it so fascinating, is it plays a huge part in the story and in the movie. So the editing for this movie had to be perfect, and it was. It was.
They really had to piece it together to perfection.
Yeah.
Otherwise it could have flopped.
It really could have, It really could have. And it did well. It did so well that I believe I read that it really paved the way to bring over more Japanese horror remakes.
Yeah.
It was like the most grossing Japanese remake.
Or I think it was just horror remake in general. Yeah. And that's when they started doing The Grudge, and what's some other ones they did?
One Missed Call. They did Dark Water.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I want to watch that.
I need to watch that one again too. Yeah.
I'm too scared. And the thing is, like, I'd love to watch the Japanese versions because I know they are terrifying because Japanese directors and like horror directors and horror writers do such a visceral job of filming horror that it's just insane.
They do.
It just really scares me.
We're seeing a lot of really good horror movies coming out of Japan, Korea, even Chinese. Yeah. Even Chinese horror dramas are doing really, really well right now. And it's kind of refreshing too, because once you've seen so many Western horrors,
like Hollywood horror movies,
it's nice to see finally these other movies, doing really, really well.
It feels, and I say this a lot because Australian horror is so different to Hollywood horror as well. So out of Australia, you get a lot of psychological thrillers coming out of here. The Wolf Creek series, Saw, Tank Girl, like those kinds of movies. Yeah. What was the other one? I was just talking about it on the podcast last week with someone. But yeah, a lot of it is just really different in Australia. So I like watching Australian horror, but I know that if I put on like a Hollywood horror movie, it's going to meet like the exact expectations that I have of a horror movie, and I'm not going to be freaked out.
It's almost like they're following a line now. It's like, all right, here's this point, and here's this trope, and like now this, here you go. And we got to throw in some comedic horror in there somewhere. We got to have that one guy. Yeah.
I find that really comforting.
It's not.
Horror movies are my comfort movies. I actually just like will sit on my bed and just watch a horror movie. My grandma the other night says to me, can't we put something funny on? And I was like, oh.
Well, I got this good parody. You ever heard of Tucker and Dale versus... That was funny.
It'd get to like the lesbian vampire bits and she'd be like, why is this in here? She just wouldn't, like she wouldn't care, but she'd just be like, I don't understand what is happening here. God. What? Actually, I put on Final Girl with Abigail Breslin.
I just watched that. Yeah.
I couldn't watch the whole thing.
It's very abstract. It's like a good concept, but I feel like there's too many plots in it, or too many holes in the plot.
It was just really confusing because I only literally watched like the first 20 minutes, and they just kept talking about the boys' will, and I'm like, who are the boys? Like when I think of the boys, I think of the Amazon TV show.
Yeah.
You can't do this to me.
It was kind of rough watch. It's a really pretty film.
It looks beautiful.
And the fact that they shoot it almost like they're on a stage and not on a movie set is really nice. But there's just too many story plot like holes to fill in.
Yeah. Really. I didn't even get up to the plot hole bits. So I just couldn't deal with it. And then when she was like trying to snuggle up with her trainer, I was like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. He's basically dead.
Yeah, that's a little rough. Especially since in the beginning you see her with like, she's like 5 or 6. And he's like, all right, I'm going to recruit you to become a super assassin. She's like, all right, okay. Now I'm falling in love with you because I'm a teenager. Yeah. That's a little rough.
That made me really uncomfortable. I was like, I don't like that bit. Just give me all the slash and dash and blood and gore. So they when they are up in the top of the barn, no one notices that some of the wallpaper's come down. So they rip it down, and it's this big giant image of a tree that's been burnt into the wall. And Rachel recognizes it from Shelter Mountain because when she's in the cabin, she actually sees the tree
on the top of the hill.
Up on the hill. She has like a little flashback to it. So they go all the way back to the cabin.
They take the ferry back and they traumatize another horse on the way.
Just harassing animals all the way. And so and what's really funny is that these images are almost shown in order of what parts of Samara's death is. Because the last image is the tree on the tape before it cuts out. And so they're trying to work out how, where the hell they've got to find the next part.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until what did they drop? Something on the ground.
I don't know. It had
marbles
to
have
been like a decorative piece, or like maybe it was board games left in the cabin. But essentially, they like get frustrated and they like just throw it on the floor. And then I think Noah's the one that catches it. And he's like, "Look." And all the marbles have collected right underneath the TV, which I think is pretty like
it's creepy.
It's pretty creepy, but it's also like ironic, like, and more symbolism that it's under the TV, and they notice that there's a little divot underneath the TV. So then they start ripping the floor apart because, it's not their property.
And then
ripping the floorboards apart.
Now vandalism.
More vandalism.
But the Shelter Mountain Inn dude's dead, so they're
apparently
not gonna get in trouble. It's fine.
He doesn't care? Odd.
So they uncover the well that is under cabin 12, which I found really cool that they did it all within... Oh, excuse me. It's all the coffee I drank. They did it all within the cabin. Like, that cabin 12 is really super significant, like Katie was in there when she first watched the video, then Rachel was in there when she first watched the video. It was built over the well that Samara was thrown in, so it's kind of like, it's really cool that it's all like you said at the start, like all interconnected in a way, like everybody is connected.
I think it's like a really pivotal part of the movie where you really are like, man, they really are, everything is coming together now.
And it didn't feel like it was just thrown at you either, because you've been given so many pieces of the puzzle in the lead up that when they do uncover the well and the TV, the ground collapses and pushes Rachel into the well, that scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh god. It's gonna fall. Watch out.
It had to be the TV that throws her into the well too. It had to be.
It was great.
And it's one of those old TVs too, with like the turn dials, so that shit's
I don't
heavy.
miss those.
We're lucky.
We're
lucky to knock her unconscious as she fell into the deep, dark well.
I was singing that too. I was like, ooh, that would hurt.
It's gotta hurt. Oh my god.
It took like me and my sister to carry those together.
Those suckers were heavy.
Yeah. So she falls in and she sees Samara, and that's when she has the vision of everything that happened to Samara, where Anna actually puts a plastic garbage bag over Samara's head and pushes her into the well. And in the extended version, or maybe the Japanese version of this scene, it is so much more brutal than this.
Oh,
so
I read about that.
She suffocates Samara, and it doesn't kill her, so she bashes her head in with a rock and then throws her into the well.
Yeah.
And she's still not dead. She still survives.
All of that. Yep.
Yeah. How insane does that have to be
crazy.
To do that to your own child?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, too, as she pushes her into the well, too, she says, "I always wanted you. I always wanted you."
Yeah.
So you can kind of get a little bit of feeling of she is at her wit's end because she always wanted this child. And I feel in a way Anna Morgan kind of knows that she can't control her power. I feel like she still loves her daughter, and she, this is the child she always wanted, and I feel like she doesn't, she's at her wit's end. She's like, okay, this has got to be it. I'm gonna free both of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really sad.
And everyone else, so that you can't hurt them as well. Yep. And that goes back to that conversation that the doctor's having with Samara, and he's saying, I don't think you want to hurt people, and she's like, but I do.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really sad.
It's a very sad scene to see.
Yeah. And so they actually rescue, and I really like the scene, just before that, where Rachel does pick up her corpse. And she's still that little girl that fell in the well. And she brushes her hair back, and I'm just like, am I gonna cry in a scary movie?
Yeah. It's very poignant too, because it's like, Rachel's a mother too, so a little bit of her motherly instinct is kicking in, and she just wants to protect this little girl, this small child. Yeah.
Well, she does say after they rescue her out of the well that all she wanted was to be heard. Some kids do this and some kids do that and some just draw pictures.
Yep.
And that's what her son's doing.
Yep.
Yeah, and so basically Noah says to Rachel, it's past sunset. How? And then they're just talking, and because they've obviously gotten Samara's body out.
Yep, they're going to
the sheriff
they're
says,
going to bury Samara is what they say. Soon. They're going to bury her body soon in a graveyard. Yep.
Yeah. And Noah says, how long do you think you could survive down there? And Rachel says, 7 days.
Yep.
So that little girl was in there for 7 days before she died. Like, that's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was reading on the wiki about the type of ghost that Samara is. So Samara's ghost is I know. Cannot speak Japanese. Onryo?
I think.
Or Onryo?
I think it's on Rio, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, it's basically a ghost that is created after dying from, like, anger and rage. Yep. And they return as very pale ghosts, and they're physical, as, like, there's, like, a physical element to them. And it's basically just to seek vengeance and get revenge on the living.
Yep.
And so that's what she comes back as, is one of these Japanese ghosts. Which is really cool. This is why I need to watch the original, because then it actually makes cultural sense.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And so, basically, Rachel thinks everything's fantastic again. Everything's fine. It's totally cool. And she says to Aiden, the curse has been lifted. We saved Samara.
Yep, they think they broke the curse. Everything's good. Yep.
Yeah. And Aiden's basically like, nah, it was a mistake because I'm still cursed.
Yes.
Like, she's still coming for me.
So essentially, Rachel, like, falls asleep in his bed. And she's like, everything's good. And Aiden's like, why did you help her? She doesn't sleep. I told you this. You don't listen, Mom. And she sees that one of the resulting symptoms of watching the tape would be the handprint, the bruised handprint on the arm. And Rachel had that and it disappeared, but it's on Aiden. So that's how she knows that it's still going. Yeah.
And that's when she freaks out.
Flips out.
And he's just like, holy crap, Noah's next. And so she's driving recklessly.
Endangering everybody's life.
Another crime.
Left her child at home by himself.
Child endangerment.
On the phone while driving through the mean streets of Seattle. Rushing to his warehouse apartment.
Yeah. And while this is happening, the TV in Noah's apartment flips on. And I love this scene. I freaking love this scene so much. Because we see the well, and I just love the way that when Samara gets to the screen, her hair
peeks over first. It does the same thing with the well, too. So you see Samara come up out of the well, but her hair is the first to kind of like peel over the edge.
I just really love that
It's such a nice little small detail once again, Very creepy. Hair is creepy.
Her hair is creepy. But this is, this character basically gave birth to the string-haired ghost concept. And I think it even influenced The Grudge, because I think that's a string-haired ghost. I'm not too sure. I haven't watched The Grudge in so long.
Yeah, kind of.
Although, speaking of The Grudge, my niece was sitting on my bed the other day, and she just starts making this, like, creaking noise, the noise from The Grudge.
Oh.
And I was like, don't do that. Or I'll make you watch The Grudge. She's 4. And the other one's 6, sitting at my computer doing it. And I was like, what are you doing? Stop
I saw that movie a couple years, a lot of years after The Ring, after I'd recovered from The Ring. And the creepiest part of that movie for me was her coming down the stairs.
Oh.
That is
I
just...
hate that movie so much.
That awkward, like, uncomfortable body movement is so creepy. I hate it, but I love it.
Any movie that has that. Anything disjointed, I get. And the thing is, like, I love exorcism movies. Like, I really do. Like, The Exorcism of Emily Rose is probably one of my favorite movies.
Very well put together.
But even just when she's, like, her body's contorting, I'm just like, that's unnatural.
That's not normal.
My sister dislocates her shoulder a lot, and that's not natural.
No.
I've seen... Oh, yeah, my sister just has to hang out washing and her shoulder dislocates.
Gosh.
All because she fell over once. And it like popped.
Oh no!
She fell over in a pair of high heels and like landed on her arm and popped it, and so now it just dislocates.
Does that. Oh gosh.
Yeah. She's got to get tendons like sewn back together or something. I don't know.
Gosh.
But she had to wait until her youngest had stopped breastfeeding. So now I think she can go get it done. I don't know how it works. I'm just like, okay, cool, Em.
I can't imagine just randomly having your shoulder pop out of place like that.
It hasn't happened for a while though, so maybe it's gotten better.
I hope so.
Know.
Gosh.
I don't think it just gets better, but she hasn't said anything to me, so I'm like, oh, maybe she's fine. I don't know. So Samara's coming out of the television, and the water. I love how they have like the camera at the ground level, watching like the water like slowly go across the floor, all the way down to the stairs, and Noah flips out.
As one would.
And this is like the only... yeah, absolutely. That wouldn't be water, that'd be my urine.
Yep.
Yeah. And so he's all cut up. And I think this is like only the second time they really show any like larger amount of blood.
So he knocks something over and glass shatters everywhere. So as he's crawling away, he cuts his hands. So I think that's really the only other time they show blood besides the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
And the horses, the horse
chewed up. But which I thought was, like I said, the fact that they just don't have the typical horror trope, like gore tropes being played through this, and there wasn't any body gore, and I think that a lot of psychological and supernatural horrors, I don't watch a lot of supernatural horror because it scares the shit out of me. I have The Conjuring 2 on my pledge list on Letterboxd, and so I'm like watching everything else around it and avoiding it because I'm like, I saw the first one.
I love the Conjuring movies, and when I saw them, like they scared the shit out of me. But I love the universe of the Conjuring.
That's what I want to watch. I want to watch The Nun and whatever else is connected to it, and it's actually directed by the guy who did Saw 1 and 2, James Wan. So it's an Australian guy who created the Conjuring universe, which is really cool. So
I love it.
This is what I mean about Australians and horror. It's like we've got a different part in our brain to mess with people.
I love the story of the Warrens. Like, I love that to death. I love creepy stuff like that.
See, I really loved the Amityville Horror. Not the first time I watched it, because I literally sat in the cinema with my eyes closed. But like, I can sit and watch it now and just be like, I really like this movie. And I think I like things that allude to like demons and religious
symbolism,
symbology, and symbolism and whatnot.
I really like that too.
And I'm not a religious person, but
same. But it still scares the shit out of me.
Like I will not touch a Ouija board. I'll have one in my house, but I will not touch it. I'm not allowed to because my grandmother's like, you're not bringing that into my house.
I find that I really enjoy those movies a lot too, because usually there's some part realism to it in a way, and I really love the horror movies where you can go, oh man, this could potentially happen. That's why I like a lot of psychological horror movies. It's because I feel like that's the scariest part. I still really like watching, slasher movies and creature features. I still like those too. But my favorite is a psychological horror. I love the mystery behind it.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite movies is like American Psycho and Silence of the Lambs. And for so long I wouldn't put those in the horror genre. until I started to research more about horror and the different elements that a psychological thriller can be a horror film. Absolutely. Yeah. Because, you know, but you get to decide what horror is. Like,
I think so.
No one else gets to decide what you're scared of.
That's exactly it, too. Is horror is literally whatever makes you uncomfortable and scares you. And that's what's great, is that you can put anything in this genre. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, I grew up watching, I think I was 8 when I watched Silence of the Lambs, maybe 9. And my dad actually, like, put it on for me because I just liked, like, crime investigation movies and action movies and stuff like that. So he was like, oh, this is fine. And now I'm just like, Dad, you know that Hannibal ate people, right? In that movie. Like, I saw him cut open a man's brain. Not in Silence of the Lambs, but later on. And it's just so, I love how so many paths cross over with horror. Yeah. And I think that's what I love the most.
I really enjoy that too. Especially since I think my love for things like that really did start from books. I was a very, very big reader. And so reading Stephen King, reading Dean Koontz. I read a lot of mystery novels from random authors growing up, and I would just peel through them, and it was just like true crime, supernatural crime, you know, all these things, one after the other. And I liked creepy Tim Burton films growing up, and, you know, stuff like that. And
me too.
It really, like, evolved. Even though things like The Ring still absolutely terrified me, I still really enjoyed watching stuff because the mystery behind it. Yeah. It was always the mystery behind it that really got me to continue to watch it, even though I was so terrified.
I just like being scared.
Yeah, I do. I
don't know why, but I grew up watching Tim Burton, and I've just started introducing my nieces to, like, specific films, nothing too crazy. They've watched Edward Scissorhands, and we watched Frankenweenie the other night.
I just watched the OG Frankenweenie, the short, the live action one.
Oh, amazing!
I borrowed somebody's Disney Plus, and it's on there, and I haven't seen that since I was a kid, and
it's on my DVD. On the DVD
really?
that I have, like a bonus.
Oh, I love it.
On the Blu-ray.
And so when they announced the new Frankenweenie, I actually took my niece to go see it in theaters too.
Oh,
I love it.
My niece wasn't born
yet.
It was so cute. she because they're both like spooky stuff, like they're creepy kids. The youngest, she is the one that loves the real creepy stuff. Just because she's a little weirdo, just like me, it's fine. She got a pair of shoes, like some like Velcro sandal sneaker kind of things, and they had candy skulls all over them. And I got in the car a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, Auntie Catherine, look at my shoes. And I was like, oh wow, they're beautiful. And she's like, I'm gonna wear them for Halloween. And I was just like, Halloween is 6 weeks away. But all right. But she's going as baby Harley Quinn for Halloween.
Oh my god.
I don't know what baby Harley Quinn means. But she went through my makeup and found a blue and pink eyeshadow, and I was like, okay, I'll do your makeup. We'll dye your hair.
I've got to be a creepy baby Harley Quinn. I love it. Oh, I love
That's
it.
her.
That's
And the 6-year-old cried all the way through Frankenweenie.
That's how my niece.
She feels
That's how my niece was growing up too. She was always into super creepy things, just like me. She's an avid horror movie watcher too. She came and stayed with me for the summer a couple of summers ago, and we just watched horror movie after horror movie after horror movie. It was great.
I can't wait for them to get old enough to do that. Because I know the youngest will. With a name like Luna, I expect that. Yeah. So
your name says you're gonna love this. So.
Yeah. I want to be the auntie that she's just like, Auntie Cat, this horror movie came out at the movies. Do you want to come see it? And I'll be like, let's go. We're off. Let's go. She's fantastic. She cracks me up. So Rachel rocks up. We don't really see what happens after this.
No, not at all.
Not until Rachel gets there. So Rachel shows up, and we see the... Oh my god.
He's sitting in a chair.
But we only see his back.
Yeah, so he's sitting in a chair.
That's what I was getting to.
He's sitting in a chair in a pool of water, and his back is to the camera. Yep.
And she swings him around. We don't see his face, do we?
You never see his face. Yeah. But you know. Because she what
his face looks like.
A piercing scream. Yep.
So she gets home and she's absolutely
distraught.
So upset. And she's like she yells at Aiden, go to your room, get away from get away from me, blah blah blah, and she's burning the tapes, and she's like, what did I do that he didn't? And she looks under the couch and sees the tape, another tape under there with copy stickered on it. And she's like, that's what I've done. Because she just wants to be heard, and she never sleeps, and it just has to keep on going. It has
to keep going. It never stops.
Yeah. And that's what Samara says as well in her interview with the doctor. And I was just like, oh, well, that's just creepy now, isn't it? And so Rachel takes Aiden to make a copy of the film. And, she's moving his hands to make the copy. And I love the ending to this film because, he says, this curse is never going to stop. What's going to happen to the person that we showed this video to?
Yeah. Yep.
And then that's it.
And
it's just like... And then they play the film. And you're like, no, it's me. I'm the next person that saw this. You fuckers.
Yep. So, in the beginning, Aiden watches the copy that she made. So, she essentially...
Yes, he didn't watch the original.
Which is a little weird because, essentially, she's still going through the motions of having everything happen to her that happens to everyone who dies at the seventh day. But it's like somewhere in the middle, he watches the copy... And she's still going through the motions.
Yeah, and it's like you could have just stopped.
Right? It's done. It's over. You already saw it.
You've seen it. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, oh, who's going to watch this next?
Who's going to watch it next? I don't know. And that's the creepy part.
Because they did do a Ring 2, didn't they?
They did. And they go back.
It was Rings. Was it Rings?
No, Rings was the third one.
Oh my god, they made 3 of them.
That's what I said. So we went through a whole series watch through. So as soon as I watched the first Ring, I was like, all right, I never saw the other ones, so I have to watch them now. So the Ring 2 is more of going back and figuring out where the hell did Samara come from. She's adopted. Where the hell did she come from, right? So that it follows.
Well, that'd be interesting.
All of that. And what's fun about that too is in the movie they move out of Seattle and they go to Astoria, Oregon. And I've been to Astoria. It's a beautiful town. They filmed so many movies there. It's known for like the Goonies. The Goonies house is there. They filmed so many movies there. So like when I went, I was like, I want to see where's this lighthouse, and it's not there. It's in Washington. But I was like, oh, we gotta see this.
Damn it! My next trip, I'm meant to be going to Oregon. Yeah? So yeah, well, I think we're going for. We want to go for a month because I have friends in Nashville that I want to see. I've got friends in Tulsa that I want to see, and then we've got, my partner has a couple of friends in Portland. So
it's a pretty big,
that's the plan.
Big trip, yeah. That's tons of time.
Well, I want a road trip, but I hate driving.
That's a problem.
We had to do the drive from, so we went to the last time we went together was in 2017. And we just drove from LA to San Francisco. And that's like an 8-hour drive. And I slept most of the way. So
yeah, that's a long drive.
He loved it.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't do it. I get so bored.
Yeah, I think that's what I like about driving through Oregon, though, is that you get to see, if you're more towards the coast, you get to see a lot. You get to see the woods, you get to see the mountains, you get to see the coast.
Yeah.
And I really like being able to see all that. A lot of that drive from LA to San Francisco, because I used to live in Monterey, which is about 2 hours south from San Francisco. And I've made the drive to LA from there, and there's nothing to look at all. There's nothing.
Not until you get to Monterey or Santa Barbara, I think.
Somewhere
it
in
starts
there
to get
is when you finally get to see anything.
Well, the Big Sur was all closed. They were doing roadworks.
Oh, yeah.
When we went through, and that's all I wanted to see on
Big
that
Sur,
drive was
Big
like
Sur
that coastline.
Is gorgeous. I was there when the Big Sur fires happened. And
wow.
that was pretty incredible. But I've driven up the 101 right there and seen Bixby Bridge. And,
I just wanted to see that.
It's
so
gorgeous.
bad.
It's a beautiful view. Everyone should be able to drive
Hopefully
that. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. And because, I live on the coast, I think the beach is maybe 5 minutes from my house, maybe 10-minute drive. And so I love the beach, and we have this big, cliff bridge that basically wraps around our coastline for a couple of kilometers. And it's been closed for a couple of months now, just because of, I think every couple of years they just re-tar the road and make sure it's all safe and whatnot. And I've been meaning to take my partner, and I just keep forgetting because I'm sure he'd love it too. He lives maybe 2 hours from the closest beach. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a long drive for him to get to the beach. So he loves coming down here.
I think the beach is like an hour away, something like that, hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's pretty cold right now, though.
You don't want to go. I don't ever get in the water at the beach.
I don't either.
Because it's too cold.
It's just too much. Well, I don't want to be wet.
I don't like sand. Ugh. Dry. If my feet are dry, I will go and sit on the beach. But if my feet get wet and I walk on sand, I have to immediately get off the beach and go and wash my feet.
It's so grimy.
It's just, I hate it.
Yeah.
Yuck. I like looking at the beach and smelling it, though.
Yeah.
That's
fun. Yeah. No, since everything is closed here, since March, we've been going and doing a lot more, hikes in areas and going and visiting places where it's not necessarily in a town or anything. We're not going in the middle of anywhere. But we did go to Cannon Beach, which has Haystack Rock, which was really pretty. So seeing driving through the mountains is really nice. It's nice to get out and do something small like that. Just go and kind of sightsee, but not really go with a destination in mind, which has really, really been nice. And now all the colors of the leaves are changing, and it's nice and fall and cool. So I'm happy.
I thought about doing some pumpkin carving.
Oh, I'm gonna totally do some pumpkin carving.
Pumpkins would go rotten so quick in the heat here. So I'm that's why we don't do pumpkin carving here.
Yeah.
Because everything would just go yuck. Because I thought my nieces would really like it.
You can get those.
But I'd have to keep them in the fridge.
You should get those, they're not plastic. They're carvable foam pumpkins. And less messy, because then you don't have to deal with the goopy insides.
The pumpkin izzards. Ugh.
Yeah.
No thanks.
You don't have to touch the goopy insides, and that's way cleaner.
Yum. So one thing I want to mention about this film was the author said that the meaning of the title The Ring is a little bit ambiguous. So the author was Koji Suzuki, who wrote the original story. And that in the movie, there's obviously a lot of symbolism about the ring, the well and the phone and
you see
these
the
things.
Ring. You see a circle or a ring quite often. Yeah.
Yeah, and they actually plant them throughout the whole film.
Yes, they do.
Which I thought was cool. But what the author intended was that it's actually the cyclical nature of the video that is continuous. And I was just
never ending. It doesn't stop.
Sneaky.
Yep, it doesn't
I
stop.
love that.
Yep.
Great. So that's The Ring. That is The Ring. I love that. I could watch that movie
I really
again,
could too.
Actually.
And that's what's great about this film too is even though obviously it was much scarier seeing this renting this movie on a VHS tape. is obviously pretty terrifying. I remember reading an article about the director of the American version watching Ringu for the first time, and he watched it on a grimy VHS tape that it was like 7 generations down, like it had been taped and retaped, you know, and that's why he was like, I have to make this because this is just all of this involved here is just super creepy. And even with all that being said, I feel like it still holds up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do feel like it still holds up all this time later, because this film came out in 2002, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would have been 13.
Yeah, I was about the same.
When it came out.
12, 13, something like that.
I don't think I watched it at that age though. I think I might have been a little bit older when I said to my dad, "Oh, Dad, can we watch horror movies?" And my dad would literally leave the room and be like, "Oh, off you go. I'm gonna go do something else."
Yeah. Gosh, it had to have been. If it was already on VHS and it was at the library, it had to have been like probably a year later. So I was probably like,
I can't remember if I watched it on DVD or VHS. My family, we could afford a DVD player when they first came out, so it might have been possible. Because I remember them being like, DVD players when they first launched here were like $600 or $700. It was insane.
Yeah. I was always, when it came to stuff like that, our family was always like several years behind everything. I remember I had already left home and my mom still had those, what was it? It was like a VHS and DVD player. And she
that's what my dad had.
Refused to like play Blu-rays, and she was like, nah, whatever.
My dad thought that Dad, if you're listening, I love you and bless your soul. He thought that he couldn't upgrade to a Blu-ray player because he wouldn't be able to watch his DVDs anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I was like, no, Dad. You can still watch DVDs on it. It's fine.
That sucks.
I was like, why don't you just ask me? Why wouldn't you Google this? I don't understand my family. Like, I'm not.
Go to Seattle.
I am not a technological person. Dad, Seattle PI, duh. I just don't understand why my family comes to me for technological stuff. Like, I am no way educated about that stuff. And I'm like, I just use Google like any other person. I think like, you're going to come to me and I'm going to use Google. I think
everybody in our generation, their parents and grandparents are like, yep, you obviously know all of this, so teach me. And we're all like, oh, God.
My grandma went and got a Samsung like tablet instead of an iPad. And she'd be like, how do I do this on it? And I was like,
I have no idea.
I don't know how to use Samsung products. She's like, I just want to screenshot stuff. And I was like, Google
it. And just ask Google on that huge computer that you have in your hands.
Yeah. You know what's really funny about iPads and tablets, Grandma? They have Google.
All of them.
No, I love my grandma. She's funny. But so I ask everyone when we wrap up the podcast, what is the last horror movie that you watched?
The last horror movie that I watched is Terrified. It is a Argentinian film that I found on Shudder. I think it's on Shudder.
Oh, yeah. I have Shudder.
I believe that it was Shudder that I saw it on. And it is it's basically about a small neighborhood in Buenos Aires that is being affected by something paranormal is going on. So each of the residents is experiencing something different, but it's terrifying. But yeah, it was really well done. I really, really enjoyed it.
Okay.
So I highly recommend it. Even though you said you don't like supernatural stuff, I think it's super creepy.
I'm getting more into it. I recently watched an Argentinian film, actually. I think it was, Lenny. It was shown at Salem Horror Film
Fest. That sounds familiar.
It was it's a psychological horror. It's so good. I really enjoyed it.
They put really good details into this movie. Something that I really enjoy in horror movies is, I I'm not huge on jump scares. Like I get it every once in a while, but when it's like jump scare, I'm like, okay, whatever. It gets to a point where you know something's gonna happen, and it's whatever.
Yeah.
I like the horror movies that add in those small little details. Where you can be watching a scene and you see the main focus of what the scene is supposed to be, but then you see that little thing that happens off in the background. I love that.
Yeah.
That for me is what gets me the most.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Because you're like, something's coming for you.
But I highly recommend it.
Because I watched The Invisible Man last night, and they do stuff like that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that was a good movie.
And so, even though it's got that trope of the invisible person, it was just done really well. Like, I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too. I didn't have too many high expectations for it, but it actually was really well put together. Yeah.
Yeah. Elizabeth Moss is fantastic. I'm a really big fan.
I can't remember the last time I hated anything that she was in.
Yeah, me too. And I really like Harriet Dyer as well, who plays her sister.
Oh,
she's in a TV show. Can't remember what it's called, but she's just really great. They cancelled it after one or two seasons. My grandma and I were devastated. But she plays a psychic. Like she can she's like a spirit.
Oh, okay,
medium.
okay.
Yeah, and she works with the cops. Ooh. It's really cool. It's really cliche, but I like it. Okay, so to end the podcast, can you please tell everybody where they can find you on the social medias?
You can find me at Sam Without a Plan on Twitter and Twitch and Instagram. Pretty much anywhere. That's the same handle I use. Yeah.
Aren't you lucky to be able to get it across the whole thing? I know. I tried with mine, and I've got to put underscores in places. It's so hard
to get a name with Sam in it too. It's so hard. Yeah. But yeah, I managed to snag them all.
Suckers. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking about The Ring.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking about The Ring. This is one of my favorites.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Me too. You're welcome. Thank you.